IITM Pune. Currently, he's with CDAC. And we were supposed to have this launch by Honorable Member Secretary, sir, but he is in a meeting. So Dr. Modghare has told me to go ahead with this series. So now I would request our president, Mr. Ravinder Kumar, to kindly welcome all the participants and the expert for today, Dr. Chate. And it's my pleasure to welcome all of you to today's webinar. So now I would request our president. He is from 1987 batch, IIT Delhi Civil Engineering, and he was with the Indian Revenue Services, and he has been a technocrat and has been an entrepreneur for past few years, and he has wide experience in taxation and global supply chain. So I would request our very dynamic and very enthusiastic president, sir, Mr. Ravindra Kumar, to kindly give the welcome address.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Gitanjali, for your nice introduction. First, I would like to welcome Dr. DM Chate, former Deputy Director, to be today's distinguished speaker, and other expert attendees, and from IIT Delhi Alumni Association and from the Maharashtra Pollution Control Board and other attendees. And so this is the this Mahapravesh workshop has acquired a very prominent role in the nation. If you recollect, on 30th November, our Honorable Prime Minister during his address, radio address, Man Ki Baat, this workshop also featured along while he was addressing the nation. So that is the importance it's acquired in such a short span of time. And I'm very thankful to Dr. Gitanjali Kaushik, who's taken the lead on the behalf of IIT Delhi Alumni Association and the Maharashtra Pollution Control Board and other experts from other institutions also. So when I say that this has acquired very important role, so from our side, I think Dr. Gitanjali has played role, because I was going through recently in the news article, it came in the Bloomberg magazine. It says that where the female are heading the organization, where the carbon reduction is more. There was recently last week, there's one article in the Bloomberg which says that, so I think that is, we are very fortunate to have a Dr. Gitanjali to take this initiative on behalf of IIT Delhi Alumni Association to this level, and of course, the Maharashtra Pollution Control. Now again, the this climate change environment has come back into the focus, maybe the pandemic and the other things. And of late, India has also realized the importance of the climate change policy. If you see our focus earlier on the environment and the related this thing, that focus was only reducing the emission cut, or we are focusing mainly that there was a debate between the developed nation or the less developed, south and north divide. It was there, and the focus was there that the polluter should pay, or the developed nations should bear the burden, the polluting the environment. But yes, of late it has been realized by India also, and there is a shift that it is not about emission cuts only. It is about the technology curve. What technology, how efficient technology we are using when we have the demand for the energy. So that was there is a shift between our national policy, that environment should not only focus on the emission cut or decarbonization alone. We should not left behind in the technology curve. So that was the significant. And when I talk that we should not be left behind in a technology curve, we should have the state of our technology, the technology which produce the less impact on the environment. The today the theme which is the on the use of the low cost sensor. So that is the right theme for the today's webinar, when we talk the trends in the low cost sensor, because the technology, I told you now, is going to be a big place. So now with this, I just end my welcome address, and I again one more time I welcome all the participants and the experts on behalf of IIT Delhi Alumni Association and the Maharashtra Pollution Control Board, and Dr. Mohd Ghare was right from the beginning. He was with us, and especially Dr. D.M. Chate, who was going to deliver to the distinguished address for all of us. And many new things will come, and we'll hope that all the attendees who have taken their valuable time will have the great time, and great learning will be there, and some new idea, new perspective will be thrown and will be enriched by end of this workshop. So again, welcome all, and thanks for coming and participating. Now, thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, President Sir, for your very warm welcome and the motivating words. I'm very sure that a lot of new learning will emerge from today's session, because these sessions have been specially requested by the city stakeholders. So that is the intent for this series of workshops. So today we are very pleased to have with us Dr. Dilip Chate. He has been the former Deputy Director of SAFAR. He has his Masters and PhD from the University of Pune. He is currently environmental consultant in urban modeling project with CDAC Pune. He has served as scientist F with Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology Pune till 31st October 2018. He also has been the Deputy Director of SAFAR, research advisor to Nanyang Academy of Sciences, Singapore, currently editor to Advances in Meteorology, Air Pollution, Air Quality and Climate Change. It's an Hindavi journal. He is also on the editorial board of two very high impact factor international journals. He has delivered talks, invited talks in University of Columbia, North Carolina, CFCC UNESCO Paris, IWA QFR Santiago, and during Globe Emission Workshop in Italy. His research interests range from thunderstorm dynamics with extreme events, atmospheric processes, natural hazards, aerosol cloud interaction, cloud and precipitation processes, numerical methods, EIA of human health and ecology. He has more than 90 international research papers in reputed SCI journals and 70 articles in books and proceedings. He has about 2,235 citations with a very high H index of 26. He has organized extensive field measurements, particularly on aerosol distribution changes during thunderstorm rain, greenhouse gases, CN, and aerosol measurements on board Sagar Kanya and Sagar Nidhi cruises in the Arabian Sea and the Bay of Bengal, Lumbini, Nepal, and flux measurements of GHGs at the coast of North Atlantic Ocean. So he is very, very much involved in the field. And he is also associated with the ongoing winter fog experiment at IGIA Delhi, along with IMD, ICR, CAU Hisar, and ICER Mohali. So, Dr. Chate, once again, a very warm welcome. Thank you, sir, for sparing time for us. And we look forward to a wonderful seminar. He has a lot of experience in terms of setting up SAFAR networks in Delhi, Ahmedabad, Pune, and also aware of a lot of work which is being done on low-cost sensors. So, sir, once again, welcome. And we would request you now to start with your lecture today, sir. Dr. Chate?
Yes.
Okay, sir. Okay. Your screen is visible, sir.
Visible. Okay. Thank you very much.
Start with your presentation, sir.
Yes. So today theme is that a very good theme, that is air quality monitoring and trends in low-cost sensors. So total in India, from Ministry of Earth Sciences, then Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. So we have a lot of automatic, you can say, air quality monitoring stations. Both automatic weather station plus ambient air quality station. These are all continuous real-time measurements. So from Ministry of Earth Science, around 40 AQMS and 80 AWS in Delhi, Mumbai, Pune, and Ahmedabad. And apart from that, 20 AQMS throughout India at one place in mostly in you can say educational institute. Similarly, now the CPCB and State Pollution Control Board and Pollution Control Committee, they have set up more than 804 at present locations. These air quality stations may not be, maybe only ambient air quality station which measures continuously, that may be around 146 as of now throughout 344 towns, cities, and throughout our country, you can say 28 states and 6 union territories. And now recently from the Ministry of Urban Housing and Urban Affairs, this at IISc Bangalore, this Indian Urban Data Exchange for Smart Cities, that means we had a meeting with them, and we had a meeting with Pune Smart City people also. So they have installed a lot of low-cost sensors depending on the manufacturer's specifications, and all those we have to get those details from that. And the data access also will be available to everybody. So we have to see, while using these low-cost sensors, how we can optimize it or standardize it with the standard this US EPA approved air quality stations, which are currently from Ministry of Earth Science and Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Around, you can say, 200 stations are there so far. So now air quality in the management system, you can say this monitoring network is important. Apart from that, meteorological measurement and emission inventory and the national ambient air quality standards, so that for every country that also, and each locations that also set up. So that may through computer modeling we can do forecasting long range as well as short range, and then we can enforce emission control for lowering the air pollution. That is the ultimate aim. So these are the you can say for 4 cities, different locations, and that listed also here, and then plus and these are operational currently, all the 4 cities. And for example, I am giving where we have set up our network. For example, in Pune, so different local you can say environment we have chosen, right from airport to industrial area, then township, then residential, suburban, then heavy traffic places like Shivajinagar, Swargate, and then Alandi, and then Manjri, that is very green place. So we are getting representative air quality from all the sectors, one can say. So each city we have around 10 to 11 such ambient air quality stations along with AWS. So it looks like this. It is housed in a very you can say controlled conditions, so that those analyzers are very expensive, and it works on optimum temperature, so that will be maintained there. Then battery backup plus for calibration, those cylindrical systems also there, cylinders are there, and we are maintaining these stations from last you can say 2010 onwards up to now. So these are the analyzers. How briefly it works, we will not go in so much technical terms. So this is a PM210, PM2.5 analyzers, and it takes this vacuum pump is there. It sucks known volume of dust inside that chamber, and then beta ray emits every hour those high energy particles, and then that will attenuate, and through attenuation of that radiation, we can measure this concentration of PM10 or PM2.5 depending on the inlet of that analyzer. So this is a simple. This is how it works. This is continuously every hour it gives measurements. Then SO2 monitor. So in reaction chamber, we have to take the gas through some carrier gas, and then their reactions takes place, and then this UV this radiation we will pass through it, and then depending on that number of you can say SO2 molecules, and that attenuated light, we can directly get the concentration of SO2. So this is how it continuously monitors the SO2. And then this carbon monoxide, it will separate that you can say by some mechanism, these gases. N2 is the carrier gas for this, and then that also measured by this photomultiplier tube or a photo detector tube. So these are all schematic of that, how it works and all. Similarly, this ozone also, that it depends on that principal absorption coefficient of ozone 254 nanometer, and then from this formula transmitters, once we remove the that means ozone from that zero gas, and then actual ozone, and then the difference will give you the this ozone concentration. Similarly, this cumulonimiscent reaction between NO and O3 in reaction chamber, so that will measure directly this NOx and NO, and then indirectly we can get NO2 and NH3. And this is very important as far as this not only you can say metropolitan cities or urban area, but in a village area also NO2 concentration might be higher. So we don't have much, you can say, air quality station in rural area. So this low cost sensor may be useful there to get the data from rural area also, because it has an impact on crop yield, and then it reduces significantly crop yield, that ozone, and then ozone very, you can say, damage the leaves and all, and then it will reduce the crop yield. So it has a high impact on our economy and all. So in that way, it is very important. And then this VOCs and this BTX, what we call it, and that we will measure through gas chromatography based continuous method. We will not go so much detail into how it works and all technically. And then let us come to low cost sensor. So here there are three types of you can say sensors available from direct original equipment manufacturers, electrochemical based, metal oxide, optical particle counters, and neflometers type. And then system of sensors, you can say, that will have a protective box, then sampling system, and then power system, electronic hardware, software, data acquisition system, and then data treatment and data transfer through GPS, GPRS, and all. So before going to this low-cost sensors, we have a lot of ambient air quality stations with very standard commercially available US approved stations throughout India. So we have to optimize or standardize this low-cost sensor with that. So one need to that means have a seasonal field campaign for this air pollution measurement in different environments near to this AQMS measurement system through this and this low-cost sensor, co-located measurements, and then the data transparency, data availability, and all those things that we have to work out. Currently, I heard that IIT Kanpur is Professor S.N. Tripathi. He is assimilating the data collected by this low-cost sensors, but still working, and then how much lifetime of this low-cost sensors, and depending on its manufacturers, there are more than 110 manufacturers throughout the world of these sensors. So we have to, and different city, for example, the smart city, each city, they might have installed around 40 to 80 low-cost sensors. For example, in Pune city, we have seen at 40 different locations. Apart from these substations, they have installed, and even CPCB1 station at Nalstop, these people have, smart city people have installed this low-cost sensor manufactured by or supplied by IISc Bangalore, nano technology department. They have supplied them. So we have to see the different smart cities. Around 100 smart cities are coming, and they are investing in these low-cost sensors not only for this environmental monitoring, but also flood monitoring. These flood sensors also they have installed, and then automatic weather stations also they installed, and that data will be likely to be that means they are likely to be open for all users for research and analysis purpose, and to estimate impact assessment on human health as well as other aspects like crop yield and all. So this is how, and then extreme events forecasting and all that data will be useful from this low cost sensor as well as this ambient air quality stations of this existing and ambient air quality stations. So this is from WMO report combined prepared by International Global Atmospheric Chemistry, then United Nations Environment Program and WMO. So there are 4 types of, they have listed this metal oxide sensors, then electrochemical or volumetric sensor, photochemical sensors, and micro-optical, which are optical based sensors. So these are the categories, and then they have installed, and then for these different reactive gases, even the long-lived greenhouse gases and particulate matter, PM 2.5, PM 10. So it comprises this sensing element or detector, PMT type of system, then system capability, pump or passive inlet to suck the air samples, then power system, batteries for backup, and then power stabilizer, sensor signal processing, local data storage, data transmission through Wi-Fi or GPRS, 4G, 5G, now that may be available. Several site software for this data treatment, open source softwares are available, and then housing from weatherproofing, because now they have installed this low cost sensors in different environment. Now India is divided in several, you can say, weather or climate type of zones. Each zones represent different, you can say, weather system, like right from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, and then east to west and all, and central India. So different weather system, this all sensors should work in different weather conditions and throughout the different season. So that is what expectations are there from low cost sensors. So currently these are the roughly they have given in that report these different type of sensors from more than 100 manufacturers. So that black box means mostly for PM particulate matter, that detailed specifications are not available, and commercial, non-commercial, then active, non-active, and open source those sensors are available. And in nutshell, this is the how that system looks like. It consists of that weather system, that means small weather station at the top, anemometer, and then particulate matter sensor inlet, and then weatherproofing to protect it from weather conditions, and then PM sensor, flash drive storage, and gas sensors also there. So together this system may cost a few lakhs compared to that ambient air quality stations of US EPA approved. That is very expensive, that goes up to 1 crore, and this few lakhs only this cost. So this is very beneficial if it is standardized with those systems. So these are the steps to standardize. We have to see calibrations, then co-located measurements, and then comparison of the data. Now, those ambient air quality, those analyzers commercially available in continuous real-time measurement system. Those are inbuilt calibration systems are there in that. So here we have to calibrate using that data or co-located measurements. So frequent calibration, we may need to do it. And I think they have given some responsibility to different agencies like NPL, as well as this IISC and IISC for data management, NPL, I think calibration, they have given that responsibility. And then IIT Kanpur, I think, suppose they are processing the data or assimilating the data or standardizing the data of these low cost sensors. So this is how qualitative and quantitative analysis we have to perform for using this small sensor. And then lifetime also we have to see whether these sensors last for 1 month, 1 week, or a few months, or even a year. So we don't know those things. So we have to, that means users, or we have to ask these manufacturers, they should provide clear-cut technical specifications of the sensors, and then sensor system performance, including results from in-field testing, if any available, with references of a report or SCI journal publications or whatever they have. And then we have that assessment of those sensors should be open, they should show openness for that. And then information on sensor lifetime, degradation, everything they have to give users clear-cut idea of those things, because selection of sensors, low-cost sensors, is really a tough job, because several manufacturers internationally as well as nationally are available. So we have to optimize on all those things while selecting these low-cost sensors. Then from users, so users also clearly defined where they want to use these low-cost sensors, and then they have to very careful while displaying any type of data or air quality index. So that one has to see, because many times what they will do, especially some international agencies, they will, for example, if PM10 or PM2.5, we have to take 24 hours average, and that should not go above our national air quality standards, ambient air quality standards. But sometimes they will take a maximum value during that 24 hours, and that they will display as a 24-hour average or something like that, and then that air quality index will give some wrong information. So we have to be very careful while using that, that data from that low-cost sensors. So in summary, that means everybody who's our stakeholders involved in that, manufacturers, then expert like from atmospheric sciences, environmental sciences, and then citizen scientists, as well as general users, and then common people also. So improve the LCS data processing and analysis method, and then improved information sharing between manufacturers and user communities should be there. We have to check out those things. And then adoption of open access and open data policies, and this should be strictly prohibited, this commercial use of this data or misuse of this data. And such practices will facilitate exchange of information, data from these low-cost sensors, and then continue to support with data advice, resources, activities. So we have to arrange continuous, that means frequently some workshop type of or outreach type of programs of all the stakeholders. And then such an evaluation program may facilitate the country like India how to, that means reduce, or you can say investment in such a huge investment in ambient air quality stations, those approved by US EPA. So we can go up to go for low-cost sensors instead of that in future. So that is how we have to work. And I think IIT Delhi alumni, they can take initiative, as well as MPCB, State Pollution Control Board, for this, how to standardize, because apart from this smart city, some general public also installed, somebody has supplied some other vendors for them this low-cost sensors. So how their low-cost sensor will be optimized or standardized with this known reference instruments or a reference ambient air quality stations of CPCB, as well as Ministry of Earth Sciences. And then after standardizing those data, then that will go to a proper calculation of this air quality index, where online calculator is available. And then that information should go to public, because we should not create a panic among public by giving wrong data for calculation of this air quality index and so that. So these are the um, points I need to discuss. So here I will stop. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chate.
Yes, I made it a short.
Sir, I think we can take one or two questions.
Yes, definitely.
From your session. Somebody was asking me, how about the smart city? So, sir, as you yourself told, that in Pune city also they have installed under smart city. There are many cities they are installing, like 40, 80.
Yes.
So these are the ones which are being given by IISc Bangalore. So across all the cities, it's just the same.
I don't think different city might have approach to different, you can say, agencies. Mostly government agency like Kanpur, also IIT. Also they have that means they have manufactured this low cost sensors, and others also might be. Exactly, I don't know, but only for Pune I know. So other cities also we have to gather that information, and that program is taking place now. So maybe in future that information may be available to us.
Okay. Because, sir, we were thinking that if across it's the sensors which are being given by IISc Bangalore, but then now you have clarified that it's different. So there will be variation then, a lot of variation again. If the make was same, then it would have been easy.
That's why we have to, that means calibrate it with reference instruments like, even if it is a different make, we can calibrate. I think that mechanism they are chalking out. I think Professor Ravindra Kumar can throw some light on this, on that information. But I heard from that that there is a commission has formed on this national ambient air quality. So they told me that IIT Kanpur, they are assimilating the data collected from these low cost sensors, and then NPL and some other agency, they are carrying out co-located field measurements. So maybe that exact scenario will emerge near future. That we can hope.
Okay, sir. So, sir, there are two questions which I can see here. So the first question is, how much does the sensor placement matter?
Sensor placement, that is location. Yeah. So that matters. Actually, we should not install the sensors very near to emission sources, because we have to allow it to disperse and then distribute uniformly, and you have to give that relaxed. So it should be away from emission sources, more away from big structures like buildings and all, because we have automatic weather station also along with that. So wind direction and all those things, and wind speed, we have to keep it open. So we have to select. It is difficult city like Mumbai or Pune. But Pune we found very good. Even Mumbai also we have selected very good locations. So those are available. So we have to see those things. Mostly this reference instrument, what I am talking from Ministry of Earth Science as well as this CPCB or Ministry of Environment and Forest. Their locations are very good. They have selected through those guidelines, international guidelines, and there only these sensors can be optimized by taking co-located measurements, and they can then install in a proper places. So I think those things are available, those standard SOP type of thing. So any other? Hello?
Yeah, one more. There is one more question, sir.
Huh.
Yeah. The other question is how often sensors are needed to be replaced?
How this LCS we are talking?
Often they need to be replaced.
Acha, replace in the sense,
Yeah.
pardon, I have not understand that question. How often?
Sir, this is a question. Yeah, I think they want to know about the lifespan. That's what I think they
lifespan that
are
we have to,
asking.
that is what, acha, that only we have to ask those manufacturers while purchasing it.
Yeah.
Itself, all technical specifications, then lifespan, and then its range of weather conditions, operational weather conditions, and all those things. So we have to get it from a manufacturer himself. Any other?
They also want to know how much is the cost. Like you said, few lakhs. So any estimate?
Yes, it may vary from, suppose single sensors, if we purchase single pollutant monitors, it is around 10,000 rupees, and then if multi-pollutant, it is as low as 1 lakh also. But if we have a complete system of data logger, then weatherproofing system, that housing and all, so that may go up to 25 lakhs or something. But the price, on price, I need not have to talk much on that, because it depends on those suppliers. So it is available, variable, you can say, prices, depending on requirement.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Very wonderful presentation by you, and you have clarified a lot of doubts. So I'm very sure that with today's session, we are now better, particularly for the city's stakeholders. Now I would request our secretary, Ms. Jyotsna Chugh Barija, to give vote of thanks.
Thank you.
Sir, can you stop sharing the screen?
Yes, that would be. Thank you.
Jyotsna ji, can you please give the vote of thanks, ma'am?
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking. I think my earphone was not working properly. Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Chate. It was really interesting to listen to you regarding all the air monitoring systems being installed in Maharashtra in all the cities. And you have given all the technical details and the number of installations which have been done, and the low-cost sensors which are being used, provided by IISc Bangalore, and NPL is also involved during calibration. IITK is also collating the data. And I think we can also take initiative from IIT Delhi to standardize data, which you have said already. So let's see how far we can go regarding this. But it was really worth listening to you. Really, thank you. Thank you so much for sparing your time and coming and discussing with us. It would be good for all the alumni over here to listen to all these details. Thank you so much. And thank you, Gitanjali, for organizing and moderating this session. Thank you, Ravindraji, for giving the initial talk and welcome address. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Satishji, also for organizing this and starting this webinar thing. So thank you all. It was really great session. Over to you, Gitanjali.
So thank you, everyone. Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Particularly Dr. Maud Ghare, Member Secretary, sir, from Maharashtra Pollution Control Board, for giving us this go-ahead to do this Mahaparivesh series. And from IIT Delhi Alumni Association, I thank our President, Mr. Ravindra Kumar, our Secretary, for being with us, Jyotsna ji. So all the participants, I hope you had a nice session today. And sincere thanks again to Dr. Chate for taking out time today. So thank you so much, everyone. And we'll be back soon with another series of Mahaparivesh. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much
Okay.
for giving me all.
Thank you all.
Okay, thank you.